Welcome to Rates and Barrels, presented by E-Trade from Morgan Stanley. It is Friday, July 25th. Derek Van Riper here with Eno Saris. On this episode, we have some baseball news you should know. The first of what will probably be many trades in the next week or so, leading into the trade deadline. Deadline coming up Thursday.
You.
That's what I say. Some people are saying it's going to be a dud. I'm going to speak more trades into these. I'm not going to say they're good trades. I'm just going to say there's going to be a lot of them. I think we're going to get a volume deadline. It might not be a good deadline. It might just be a volume deadline. But Josh Naylor on the move, we'll talk about that. Taj Bradley sent to AAA. Talk about what that means for his long-term future. Maybe he's a guy that's on the move next week as well. We're going to take a look at some long view considerations for a few prospects and a rookie that has been hurt for most of the year in Roki Sasaki. Also a pop-up guy in Quinn. Got a weekend waiver preview, and our senior hot dog correspondent, Shah, joins us a little bit later on in the show to review the Cincinnati Dog. So, a lot of ground to cover, Some show news off the top. We will have a live stream again this year for the trade deadline. I'll make sure to get that on the YouTube page to start the week, so you can make sure you hit the button. You'll know when we go live. We're going to go live an hour before the deadline. So this year, the trade deadline is Thursday, July 31st, 6 Eastern. We are going to go live at 5 Eastern, and we're going to hang on probably for 15 or 20 minutes afterwards in case we get the Justin Verlander to Houston trade that pops after time seemingly passes, right? I don't think we're going to get one of those, but we have to leave the door open for it.
There's an article about the trade deadline that was sort of just like generalities about like, this guy did it from, while his son was being born, did a trade, and this guy did a trade while he was, in the hospital for a procedure and all this stuff. But there was one line in there about one trade. I wish I could remember it better, but it was like, we didn't actually get that one done before the deadline. And I'm like,
you shouldn't admit
okay. That. So, I mean, they have to like submit some form of the trade before the deadline, but I guess there can be some haggling that happens after. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't really understand if you can have like contingencies in the deal that you finalize after, and that's the okay to keep messing with part, or what exactly they can get away with. But that was a surprising thing to hear about. Let's get to some trades. The first one is the Josh Naylor trade. He's now a member of the Seattle Mariners. 2 pitchers go back to Arizona. We'll talk about them in just a little bit. Do you have part concerns for Naylor going into Seattle, or are they slightly reduced because he is a lefty and the park does seem to be more detrimental to righties trying to make that adjustment?
Yeah, I also just wonder if like the current version of Naylor and his value doesn't necessarily depend so much on the power bit, Mm-hmm. I am a little concerned if his strikeout rate expands, but they're getting somebody who's so excellent at strikeout rate. What if it goes up to 14, 15%, 16%? He's been there before. That's his career number. Josh Naylor's is 16%. So even if he inflates the strikeouts, I don't think you necessarily own him for power at this point. And so do I think he can hit another 6 to 8 homers and steal another 4 to 6 bags and have a good batting average? Yeah, I think he can do that even in Seattle. So I don't think that it changes my evaluation of his future that much. I think the most fascinating part of this is just what it means for Eugenio Suarez and how it played out in the media. So my instinct was that this means that they're out on Eugenio. Now, I know that then immediately 20 people came out and were like, Seattle, source from Seattle, they're still in on Eugenio. He's their number one priority, which to me just reads as really fishy. It's like, oh, wow, who really wanted that out there? Maybe Arizona still wanted that out there. Maybe Arizona's like, no, don't pretend that Seattle's away from the table. They're still at the table. They still want him, or maybe that was, maybe that's true in name because the Seattle fans really want Eugenio. He was a fan favorite. So maybe Seattle wants it out there that, oh no, we're still trying. But I just think that functionally, if you are discussing a trade with another general manager, and let's say you're Mike Hazen, I'm Jerry DiPoto, and I'm like, hey, I'm interested in your bats. And you're like, oh, okay, well, we got Naylor and we got Eugenio. And you're like, okay, what do you want for Eugenio? Ooh, okay. What do you want for Naylor? Oh, that's what okay, let's do Naylor. Like, functionally, it means you've pivoted already in the discussion with that general manager, right? Like, you've already said, ooh, that's a little, much for my taste. So I would say that most likely the discussion is, tell us if the price comes down on Eugenio. And I don't actually think the price will come down, because all I see is Milwaukee fans being like, we need him. Yankee fans being like, it's Eugenio or bust. For some reason, there's enough teams that really want slugging and at third base that I think that he's going to be possibly the most overpriced, because he's still a rental, and usually what we've seen is that the prospects you get back for rentals are pretty bad at this point in sort of baseball's cycle. But maybe they'll price something good. Like, I would have to think that if they got Spencer Jones, that would be an overpay for a rental of Eugenio Suarez.
It seems like it. Rentals don't usually bring prospects back quite that good. And Spencer Jones is a prospect we'll talk about a little bit later, I think has pretty wide range of outcomes because of the swing and miss, but also the power that we're seeing on display as well. I do think, as far as the going back and trading with the same team, especially for another infielder, it's unlikely, but not impossible. And I do think there are so many other suitors here. Seattle doesn't need to make it seem or Arizona doesn't need to make it seem like Seattle's still interested. It doesn't really matter.
So maybe this is Seattle PR for setting up for a we tried.
We're still trying.
We're still in it. We're still trying.
And I don't know what that's all about either, though, because Josh Naylor's been a good hitter for 4 years now. He's been well above league average, at least 18% better by a WRC plus. And I think the thing he adds is something that fits really well in Seattle too. This is a team that by overall lineup is 5th in WRC plus, but they're, I think, 8th in team strikeout rate at 23%. So to take a little swing and miss out of that lineup is a good thing. I was trying to think about the pieces and how they all fit together. Luke Raley's been playing a lot of first base. So whether Naylor's playing first or DH, the pressure comes from having another quality left-handed bat. And the trickle down of who loses playing time probably depends on how much they like playing Jorge Polanco on the infield. Yeah, I think if they're going to play Polanco in the infield, second base still makes more sense to me than third, because Ben Williamson can pick it over at third. So you probably want to keep your best defender on the field there. And then if you're talking about playing Raley some in right field, then it eats into the playing time of Dominic Canzone. So I think it might not be one clear cut, this guy just lost a ton of playing time. It might be a little bit of mixing and matching because they're going to use Naylor some in that DH role. But there's at least one small loser playing time wise, because Naylor's going to be in the lineup every day.
Yeah, I like Luke Raley. And so I think he'll still play, but you look at his defensive run values, they're a little bit out of whack with his physical tools. Like, he runs well, he throws well, and he hits the ball hard, but he's a negative at every position he's ever played for his career by outs above average. This year he's zeros, but I think the sample's just really tiny. So I guess, he's their DH. Yeah, that's my guess. He's their DH when Cal Raleigh is not the DH.
So you're DHing Raley, and then you're taking a -6 DRS first baseman in Naylor and putting him on the field if you go that route. Not as bad by outs above average. He's a -2 this year, and he's been positive every year prior to this.
I would lean on the sort of long-term track record in that case, I think. But they'll move things around. I think, Raley's a platoon guy. I think that Naylor might not be. I think that you acquire somebody like this to play him every day.
Of course, yeah. I'm with you on that for sure. The two pitchers going back to Arizona, Brandon Garcia, who recently just debuted with the Mariners in that series against the Brewers, and Ashton Izzy, a little further away, I believe, pitching at high A more recently. Yeah, he's a high A pitcher this year. He's 21 years old. Any interest in either of those guys in long-term formats as as possible stashes.
Yeah, I think that, Garcia's stuff is interesting, and he's not too far removed from starting. He was starting just last year, so they may try to move him back to starting. He has at his core like a pretty good sinker slider combination, and if they could put together the cutter change, curve, kind of constellation of pitches around that, then there's a chance he's a starter. But they've also not had the greatest depth in the bullpen, and so they may have just traded Josh Naylor for two relievers, and neither stands out as necessarily slotting in at closer next year. So I think the fantasy impact of the prospects here is pretty minimal.
Yeah, probably more real life impact than fantasy, especially in the short term. And the Diamondbacks, I think they just need as many arms as possible for next year. Merrill Kelly could be on the way out. He's a pending free agent. Zach Gallen, Eduardo Rodriguez is, I think, still there for another year, but it multiple openings in that rotation. So we'll see what they're able to do.
I guess looking at this depth chart longer, I think Rayleigh and Canzone are like sort of battling for playing time.
That's what it looks like now. Like they're instead of having two spots for two players, it's more like one spot when everyone's healthy for those guys to try and rotate through. And neither brings a lot defensively, so it's going to come down to who's hitting at any given time.
They've got a little bit of a weird thing going on. I think this was mentioned in the Discord after we talked about Jorge Polanco being a switch hitter, but he's not really playing against lefties this year, maybe due to some sort of injury. So Polanco not playing against lefties, Rayleigh not playing against lefties, and Canzone not playing against lefties. Like, what am I missing here? That doesn't fit.
It's a lot of platoons.
That means Rayleigh is going to play some against lefties, or the next move for them is a right-handed bat.
They probably could have or should have maybe tried to get Randall Grichuk back in that trade if the roster pieces would have fit, because Grichuk also in Arizona brings that right-handed side bat that you'd want. I don't know. But
Harrison Bader?
Yeah, that could help. Someone that can play a good center field, good defender. I could see something like that.
He's a right-hander, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I do think the interesting part of this, too, on the position player side, it comes from Naylor no longer being with the Diamondbacks. Jordan Lawlar, I mean, with Eugenio Suarez being the most rumored big bat to go somewhere between now and Thursday, there should be multiple openings on the infield. The only issue right now is that Jordan Lawlar's been down with a hamstring strain at AAA Reno for the past month, but I think once Lawlar's healthy again, we're finally going to get the extended look at Jordan Lawlar in the big leagues.
Someday. I think the big winner is Pavin Smith.
Pavin Smith would be the immediate winner.
And Adrian Del Castillo.
Yep.
I think maybe there's enough bat here to play at DH. The things that turn me off about him are, sort of mediocre-ish combo of strikeout rate, whiff rate, hard hit rate, and max EVs. Like, a 27% strikeout rate with a 13 to 14% whiff rate with a 35-ish% hard hit rate and a lower than 110 max EV. It's not super compelling. I think it just reads like a catcher to me rather than like hitter. Maybe an okay catcher offensively, but that's a different bar than like somebody I want to roster as a hitter.
Well, the Pavin Smith situation, similar to Lawlar, he's coming back from an oblique injury, but once he comes back, I think you're absolutely right. Pavin Smith at first base as the big side platoon option. Yeah, he's hurt right now too.
Who is T. English?
Tristan English is the guy they recalled after making the trade.
Well, he's got nice strikeout rates and okay max EV, better hard hit rates. Like, just to compare him to Del Castillo, 14% K rates, 11% swing strike rate, 40+% hard hit, and 111.5 max EV. Like, I think that's a pretty good combo. The bad news is he's 28 years old, so not much projection here, not much, but could be one of those guys that just fills in and is surprisingly okay.
Right, from the Joey Meneses like, hey, opportunity is opportunity, and you can hit well enough now to maybe have a bigger role next year. I think Del Castillo is probably the more reliable of those two. A little more invested in him.
Maybe they'll play him at first, because you could play Jake McCarthy in the outfield and play Gurriel at DH as well.
Yeah. Man, a lot of D-backs talk off top. We got a lot of mileage out of that Josh Naylor trade. And
there's more to come, so you got to set up. You got to set up the pieces in case, we're not going to talk to y'all for the weekend. So if something else happens over the weekend, I think pounce on Jake McCarthy. I think this could be a chance for him. Doug Castillo in deeper leagues. Tristan English in the deepest of deep leagues.
And basically NL only leagues, yeah. That's probably more the small side platoon partner for someone like Smith once Smith comes off the IL.
Yeah.
But Jordan Lawlar would be the kind of obvious, hey, when he's healthy, he's going to play. If he's out there in a redraft league, I think he does enough things well to make an impact now that playing time should, with a capital S, should be stabilized for him once he's healthy again. No guarantees, but that's what it looks like is happening. Let's take a look at this one. Taj Bradley has been optioned to AAA Durham after getting knocked around by the White Sox this week. The good news is Joe Boyle back in the rotation for the Rays. Like, anything that helps Joe Boyle's good. So I think if you're looking at possible pitching pickups and Boyle's on the waiver wire in your league, you want to think about that this weekend, because he's looked a lot better in Tampa. The walks have not been as much of a problem. Still has excellent swing and miss stuff. But now I think we're asking a lot of the same questions we've asked before about Taj Bradley. If the Rays haven't found something that's worked better for Taj Bradley yet, will they end up moving him at the trade deadline? Will they take Taj Bradley, who's still interesting, still young, could still figure some things out? Will he actually be on the move as one of the more exciting long-term pieces that could get traded?
Yeah, he really regressed this year. Taj Bradley's splitter got worse. It lost 3 inches of drop. He lost velo. It was a little bit more advanced. The velo loss was early in the season. He's kind of regained some of that. But there's still the fact of the lost velo. Split finger got harder and just worse. Curveball got harder and a little bit better, I guess. So just generally not progressing the way you'd want. And I think that the key problem here is really the command has never been there. We've had a 97 location plus, a 90 location plus, and then this year a 91 from Taj Bradley. That's borderline not able, like, you're not a starter at that level. Like, the number of pitchers that are starters with a 91 location plus is very small. So that may just be a problem that they can't get by. I think that the problem also is that everybody else can see these warts. And there's also this idea that, like, if Tampa can't get something out of him, do we really have a plan for him? And there's no obvious plan, because I think another thing that's missing from him is a slider. He's just never, he's got an okay cutter, but he's just never had the ability to spin a slider. And I don't know that there's any team out there that has figured out, like, oh, give me all your guys that don't have sliders. We've figured out sliders. Like, slider is like one of those things that you just sort of expect your good pitcher to have, I feel like, especially as a righty. So I think he's got too many warts and too much upside. It's a weird combo for them to trade. Zach Littell, on the other hand, is just somebody that, like, he has no more years of control left. He's maxed out, I think, in terms of getting the most out of him. And somebody else would just see him as somebody that can help them get them to the postseason. So I could see Zach Littell going before I see Taj Bradley going.
Oh, Littell seems like an easy call at this point.
But I don't think of them as sellers. Do you think of them as sellers?
I keep looking at them thinking they can do a little bit of both. I mean, they're 3 over 500 entering play on Friday. Fangraphs has their playoff odds at 27.3%, which is a function of the Jays, the Yankees, and the Red Sox all being in the division, all being ahead of them right now.
Basically tied with the Rangers for the team that's out of the playoffs, the first team that's out of the playoffs. So there's like two games back of the Red Sox and Mariners who are in.
Right. If you're running the Rangers, you're running the Guardians, and you're running the Rays, and you're sitting in the position you're in right now, you probably should be, you're close enough where you probably should be buying and trying to get better. Or at least fixing some of your flaws beyond this season and just seeing how it plays out. You're
not buying
selling
at the top
and punting.
of the market. Not buying at the top of the market. Maybe buying guys with years of control.
Mm-hmm.
You know, improving yourself for next year as well. Yeah, I could see them being that sort of thing. But yeah, I guess you could just sell Littell, and I would have sold maybe Brandon Lau. You know, if he was healthy. I don't know if you can sell him when he's hurt. And also add pieces. You know, I think that could be something the Rays do for sure.
So I'm gathering that the way you look at Bradley and his flaws, and the command is the big one. We've talked about his location struggles before. We've looked at it even on a 3-year leaderboard. Starters with the lowest location plus seasons. Taj Bradley has 2 of the 10 worst seasons from a starter this year and last year by location plus. The worst, Michael Kopech in 2023, an 84. We may never see an 84 from a guy that throws 100+ innings in a season again. It's possible. So if they haven't solved that yet, until they do, or until someone does, I think there's actually a lot of reliever risk on Bradley. But long-term, fantasy league-wise, what if Taj Bradley moves into the bullpen for next season, adds a couple ticks, right? Like, does it work in the pen, even though he doesn't have that slider? Like, do you see that maybe being the path to making Bradley the most valuable pitcher he can be for the Rays or for any other staff based on what he's done up to this point?
Yeah, it's just a shame because he has been able to pitch to, 111, 140 type innings, and innings are so valuable that capping him at 70 or 80 would just seem a little bit of a shame. But I think he's headed that direction. There are some happy stories down where he lives. I think Luis Heel is a guy who's come out of that. Gavin Williams has similar command right now. Spencer Strider's command right now is down there, but that's sort of a post-surgery thing. Christopher Sanchez in 2023 had a 94. But one of the problems is that these guys that I'm mentioning, they kind of show up on this list once. You know what I mean? They their worst year had bad command like this, and then they get out of there. Whereas I see Taj Bradley's name on here 3 times at the bottom. Yeah.
Well, every year he's been in the big leagues. It's been a recurring problem for him. So I think if you are thinking about Taj in a keeper league or a dynasty league, it's got to be a league with a ton of keepers. And I think you have to do it with the open mind that it might be for saves and not for the future of a $15 to $20 starting pitcher that we once thought was in front of him. And I just wonder if the Rays are at that point as well, where if he's part of their plans, it's in a different role. They've been more creative than a lot of clubs with how they use pitchers. They can throw an opener in front of him at some point, try to use him with 3 and 4 inning stints for a while, see if something clicks, if the command gets better. And if it does, then go back to using like a regular starter again. So it's not over, but it's definitely a low point and an opportunity where I'm looking at him as like a throw-in for a trade, not in real life, but in fantasy. Where he's the second or third guy I'm getting back as a seller. Let's just see where it goes, and maybe it ends up being something that we can get excited about again someday. I don't think that's the way people are looking at Roki Sasaki, though. I'm not really sure how people are looking at Roki Sasaki right now. So where are you at with him for keeper and dynasty league purposes? I think my 2025 assessment is I barely care about him for 2025, even though he's making progress toward a return. Like I'm not looking at him as someone who's going to fix my season if I need pitching. And I almost kind of feel like whatever we get from him this season at the big league level is a bonus given the injuries that he's had. So he's making progress back. But do you seek Roki Sasaki right now at a clear low point in his value for long-term leagues?
I suppose I prefer him over Taj Bradley in a trade
Mm-hmm.
if I was rebuilding, just because the flaws aren't so ingrained. Like we haven't had 3 years of Roki Sasaki where he hasn't gotten better. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you got 34 1/3 big league innings with a new baseball that he's adjusting to, and
I think still there. The splitter looks really good. I feel like maybe if he had a cutter and a sinker or something, that if there's another fastball there, that he could actually pop pretty quickly. I mean, if I could give you Kodai Senga with a 96 mile an hour fastball, that's sort of a comp for me.
Yeah, I'd be excited about that. And the the question about command here kind of touches on something you were pointing to with Taj. Like, this is the first snapshot we've seen from it. We haven't seen 2 or 3 years of below average command yet. So I think it's a risk that makes a little bit more sense. More time to adjust. I would be inclined to say, yeah, I still want, where I'm seeking out pitching, I still want Roki back. The thing you can't dismiss is the injury history even prior to this season is something that makes him an above average health risk. Like whatever his health grade is, it's below average. If you say C is the average health grade for a pitcher, Roki's not getting anything better than a D.
And Taj has got to be a little bit better than that. I mean, he's been pretty healthy. It also, what's nice about these two guys is there's a little bit of a load-em aspect. If you're in a league that they listen to this podcast, well, now you're screwed. But if you're in a league with other people that use Fangraphs a lot, they could look at Fangraphs and be like, look at the model numbers on these guys. They're not very good.
Yeah,
I'll trade them.
Yeah, I think that's something you're going to see a little bit. You're actually going to see Roki available now, whereas going into this year, almost untouchable, almost impossible to trade for, barring some kind of like blockbuster sort of maneuver.
I think they'll use him weirdly too. Like you're talking about them using Bradley weirdly, like or in these sort of in between roles. If you're the Dodgers right now and you got Roki Sasaki coming back, I feel like you're not handing him a rotation spot.
Your whole situation has changed. Glasnow being healthy, Snell progressing, Yamamoto being healthy right now. Like
he may even stay in the minors.
Could stay in the minors. Do you throw him in the PCL or do you throw him in Double A? Yeah, you do that. I think multi-inning relief. Like use him. Why can't you use Roki the way you were using Ben Kasparius?
That's right. Yeah,
I think you want that. I think you also have enough needs in your bullpen. Whereas you think about what your team is going to do between now and October, Roki's probably one of your 13 best pitchers pretty easily if he gets
and
right.
There's a chance that he takes to it, at least in the short term, and you say, hey, this is just a short-term thing, and all of a sudden in October, you've got like a guy who's hitting 100, with the killer splitter.
Keep him with the big league staff, keep him with Shohei, like whatever things are important to you as an organization, there's probably more of them keeping him on that big league roster right now than having a prolonged stint in the minors. Could take a little longer on his rehab. They could do that. But I think they're going to try and find some way to deploy Roki that makes him valuable to them down the stretch, even if he's not necessarily as valuable as we'd hope for us on the fantasy side. The other player I see a lot in our Discord right now, at least as far as mentions go, I don't think Spencer Jones is part of the Rates and Barrels Discord, but if he is, hey, that's cool. I did see a message about Spencer Jones from Jarrett Seidler, Baseball Prospectus, over on Blue Sky earlier this week, and this definitely caught my eye. Jarrett wrote, Spencer Jones needs what would normally be a 2-grade jump in his contact data to get to what we would normally call 20 grade. It's not impossible, but in the history of pitch level data, the only player who has been good at anywhere close to this whiff level was Joey Gallo.
Yeah.
It makes sense, right? Like it's huge,
it's
huge, like swing and miss, like super strong. I mean, the back of the baseball card numbers are good. The Fangraphs numbers are good. You're talking about a guy that has a combined 29 homers over 2 levels at AA and AAA this year, 16 steals, a 206 WRC plus. You don't see a lot of 206 WRC pluses.
Yeah. On the other hand, I'm looking at, let's just say 2023, looking at AAA. What's his current strikeout rate, Spencer Jones? You've got a 28.
He's at 25.5 at AAA right now, but he was 33.7 in a larger sample this year at the lower level at AA.
And what's it for the year then? It's 31 or something?
31. 30, even just finding guys above AA that strike out 30% of the time, like their outcomes in the big leagues are not great.
Montgomery, Esteban Florial, Jorge Alfaro, Jose Barrero, Griffin Conine, Gerard Encarnacion, Jair Camargo, like Cameron Misner, like Reese Hines, even if you start going down to 28%, let's say 28%, what do you get? You get Owen Casey, Jack Sawinski, Matt Wallner, Kevin Alcantara. Some of these guys, Alexander Canario, some of these guys had some prospect pedigree, but also none of them turned into a regular.
Right.
We get down to 25, even 25, like 25 and above. I'm now looking Colton Cowser, 26.5. That's the best player you have at 25 and above at AAA from 2023.
It's funny to me that you mentioned Jair Camargo. He just got released by Minnesota in the last, 12 hours. Like, it's just, but the problem's twofold. Like, one, I don't think the Yankees have a place for Spencer Jones anyway. And two, if a team does trade for him, you're still probably taking on a lot of batting average downside, some flat out demotion downside. I think about peak Joey Gallo, though, and peak Joey Gallo, from a fantasy perspective, was for a brief time a very good player, despite the batting average. Like 2017, 41 homers, 80 RBIs, 85 runs, hit 209 that year.
Spencer Jones is a future Marlin, it looks like to me. Like, doesn't he fit right in there? Like, you're talking about like a sort of projectable AAA guy, close to the big leagues, slightly too many strikeouts. I mean, that's like Kyle Stowers again.
Yeah. I get why you would take the chance on it, but is he someone you want on your fantasy team, or do you just use that roster spot?
I traded him this year.
Yeah.
Already, I traded him. It was in a package for Ryan Pepio and something else.
Okay. And I think most lists have a pretty easy answer on this one, but how do you compare Spencer Jones to, say, Chase Lawlar, who's going to miss 6 to 8 weeks following hamate surgery? The production, when he's been on the field, has been good. Another injury. And a clear need in Cleveland. I thought we hit the point probably a month ago where Chase Lawlar was going to get the call to Cleveland once we hit the point where he could come up and not accrue enough service time to lose Rookie of the Year eligibility for 2026. Now we might have to wait until the fall league to see him again if he takes the longer end of that timetable to get back from handmate surgery, if they want to send him down there just to get some reps. But what's your approach with you like him in long-term leagues?
Yeah, I'd buy him. I like the hard hit rate, the max EV, the strikeout rate. I love everything about him. He's 23. Like, maybe he won't steal that many bases, and maybe he is off injured. So what? Like, I think this is an opportunity. And I bet you the person who's been holding on to him is yet another injury.
Right.
It's just like, might snap, accept a trade offer right now.
Yeah, especially if they got a shot to win this year and you give them something enticing that will actually help put them over the top. I think that's the window that you can take advantage of if the Lawlar is in fact available in your league. But I assume we're going to see him opening day 2026, even if we don't get a little glimpse of him in Cleveland before the end of this season. We did have a mailbag question kind of focusing on the long view of a player. And it's Quinn Priester. This mailbag question came from B in the Discord. What is the dynasty value and upside of surprise breakout Quinn Priester? It seems like he has a great feel for spin and location, and he's still just 24, plus great defense and coaching. Only real knock is the owner is a little tight, which, doesn't really hurt Quinn Priester at all because he's far away from free agency and can stay in Milwaukee for a long time.
Yeah, I thought, maybe I've been a low man on Quinn Priester a little bit. So I thought, let me test my assertions and let me look at similar players. And so I went and found comps for him that are based on having a plus sinker, a not so great four seam. In Quinn Priester's case, one so bad he's put away completely. But you can see that the cutter that he also uses is not great by Stuff Plus. And then having a good breaking ball. And being under the age of 25. So the comps I found were Reese Olson twice. So that's a pretty strong comp there. Ranger Suarez, Hunter Dobbins, Bryce Wilson, Kumar Rocker, Braxton Garrett, Luis L. Ortiz, Luis Medina, Cade Povich, and Ian Anderson. And if you are looking on YouTube right now, you can see the difference between the average of the comps and Quinn Priester. I think I nailed it. Like it's pretty much close across the board where These guys all kind of fit as a group. They at least fit as a comp, and they as a group had a 4.02 ERA and a 4.26 Sierra. So I think of this type as a league average type. Now, Reese Olson's had some good seasons, but Reese Olson also has the benefit of a nice park. And if Reese Olson is the upside, I think that also tells you something. I couldn't trade Reese Olson away last year. Now, maybe people were wrong and they should have taken him in my trade offers because he's doing pretty well this year. But I would say the top end is Reese Olson and the bottom end is Braxton Garrett or Bryce Wilson or, just somebody that kind of is up and down. And I would like to point out that the Brewers have guys like this all the time. His name was Tobias Myers last year. They seem to ride the wave a little bit, and it doesn't always work out long term. They have guys that pop for a year or two and then are gone. And I could see that happening with Quinn Priester, where this ends up being his best year when you look back.
Yeah, I do think the pop-up pitcher like this, especially one with a lower strikeout rate, doesn't always bring back a lot in trade because the room is generally skeptical. They end up being better as found money, like extra guys you hold onto the roster rather than players you bundle into a trade in the leagues where they're valuable enough in the first place. K rate is ticking up a little bit for Priester. He's up to 20%, 20.5 for the season, in part because he's had a couple
below average number. So,
yeah, he's got 21 Ks in his last 3 starts, though. Seattle, Dodgers, Nats, and 10 of those were against the Dodgers. So I don't know. Something else might be clicking for him. But I'm with you that the ceiling is still probably that of a top 40 starting pitcher. That's probably the best case scenario for Olson. Back at the top 40 when you get a few injuries sprinkled in. Good pitcher, but not a guy you're going to get a lot back for in a trade. Easier to just go out and get him. I think these are players that make your team better. They don't cost you a lot in the long run. So I generally try to pad rosters.
You want to be on the waiver wire and pick up guys. You want to pick up, honestly, in some leagues, you want to pick up a guy who is just doing well that the model doesn't like. He's just doing well. Mm-hmm. In case it turns into, I just found Quinn Priester. I think of Jameson Taillon as a guy that I picked up in leagues and just been nobody wants him. He has no trade value. And he's been okay.
He helps you. Fills the roster spot capably, gives you better than a replacement waiver wire level of production, and that's okay. Just take that and be happy with it. But I do want to watch closely in these final 2 months and see if that elevated K rate with some new adjustments continue to drive that number up. That's the thing that could maybe change the analysis a little bit. But I do think that Taillon bucket, that Taillon comp is very fair right now because even in deep leagues, you don't find a lot of people getting excited to trade for a Jameson Taillon, even though
I can't trade him.
$7, $10 at the end of the year is always possible, given the depth and the number of innings and all those things that work well for someone like that. Got a couple waiver-related questions and some breaking news, actually. Not the biggest thing ever, but I was going to ask you, who's closing in Baltimore? Because Félix Bautista hit the IL with a shoulder injury. We saw Gregory Soto pick up a save on Thursday, and now Gregory Soto, the breaking news is that he's been traded to the Mets. So they broke my rundown because my question was, even if it's Soto or Dominguez over the course of the next few days, how do you know that one or both of those guys isn't getting moved? Sure. There's no reason you have to hold those guys. So is there someone you actually want that you don't think they're going to trade that will get some saves for a little while Bautista's down?
Stuff like Grant Wolfram a little bit. I don't but
the answer is pretty much also no.
Yeah, I mean Wolfram throws 95 as a lefty with an 11 ERA, right? I mean, I know it's ERA, but yeah, would they call Cano? Isn't Cano in the minors, or did he come back up? Okay, so I'd say Cano. That's my guess.
You think Yennier Cano is still the sharpest pickup of the bunch because he's still got a few years of control left, so they probably wouldn't trade him.
I think Dominguez goes. He's a rental, right? Yeah.
So you're looking at this as maybe a situation you're avoiding outside of AL only leagues.
Yeah, we're not even sure about how long Bautista's out. It's shoulder soreness is one of those things that has a wide band of, 10 days to 2 months or whatever,
The other reliever I wanted to ask you about, and we could open it up beyond this player, but Griffin Jax. There's a few ways things could change for him. Joan Duran could be traded. No guarantee that he will be, but the Twins could do it. Jax could theoretically start stretching out and start at some point. That's probably more for 2026. But is Jax on the list of relievers you're thinking about trying to add cheap this weekend ahead of the deadline in hopes of landing a closer because of a somewhat unexpected trade? I mean, Trevor and I talked about some relievers a few weeks ago. Like Cade Smith at the time was one where it's like, hey, you want the guy that's probably the closer. Like if Clase goes, Cade Smith on your roster now is much cheaper than trying to get him on your roster next weekend if the trade actually happens.
That was smart. I'm glad you talked about it because I still think that's the smartest play. Because that's the one that I'm like, ooh, out of left field for some, but totally a Guardians type trade. Right?
Yeah.
You trade Clase not when he's a rental. You trade him when you're trading years of control. He's kind of expensive for you. You have a replacement. I mean, I think that Clase is going to get traded. That's how strongly I feel about it. In what we're seeing in St. Louis, I think is something you have to pay attention to. The guys getting holds are JoJo Romero, Riley O'Brien, and Phil Maton, and the Stuff Plus says, is it Maton? Phil Maton is the guy to pick up, I think. But Riley O'Brien actually has better stuff. So he's got 2 holds. He's 30, but they've got him for a while. He's got a 96 mile an hour fastball, 98 mile an hour sinker. So I think I amend it's Riley O'Brien. So I think Riley O'Brien and Cade Smith are my favorite reliever pickups ahead of this deadline.
All right. Probably cheaper this Sunday, unless the trade happens this weekend, than they will be next Sunday if you're trying to get out in front of it.
You're talking about how Baltimore might just be a miss as a pen. Like, I kind of feel that way about Florida, too. It's like Florida could trade some of their guys away, Bender, Fauché. Like, I don't think that they're in love with any of those guys long term. But then what they've been doing themselves is they've been giving saves at opportunities to all their guys.
Mm-hmm.
So even if they trade 1 or 2 of those guys, I think they might still keep giving save opportunities to 2 or 3 guys. So I think Florida's a bit of a miss right now in terms of pens.
Yeah, it's been a tough one for me all season. I do find myself investing more in pens like that after the deadline if they trade a couple of guys away, because maybe instead of being 3 guys rotating, it was down to 2. Maybe they do finally hone in on 1 for the last 6 weeks of the season, but it's really hard ahead of time to know who they actually would trade and then who they would actually choose if it is, in fact, more than 1 option still left over. So it's a little more of a wait and see.
Pittsburgh is also a problem because they could trade David Bednar, and then you're like, oh, I'm into Dennis Santana. They could also trade Dennis Santana.
Yep.
And then you're
they certainly could.
Johan Ramirez?
David Bednar has put it back together this year. It's kind of happened a little bit off the radar, but a 33.8% K rate. He's got the walk rate back down to 7%, 2.31 ERA, 1.11 WHIP. I mean, yeah, like why? If you can't get Helsley and you can't get Clase, or someone else gets them first, or they're just too expensive, David Bednar still has 1 more year of control as well. So it's not just
I think
a rental.
Bednar might even close where he goes too.
I think there's plenty of teams that if the Tigers traded for David Bednar, he'd be their primary closer, right? Like there's not really a lot of there are other good relievers there, but I think Bednar is clearly the guy they would have closing in that scenario.
For Bednar, it's a win for Stuff Plus because the Stuff Plus has been there every year, and the 1 year where he really had troubles, it was Location Plus, and what we know is that Stuff Plus is stickier year to year. So he basically just lost command of his pitches and figured it out.
I had one starter I wanted to ask you about. Joey Wentz getting an opportunity in Atlanta. We've seen some lefties just pop out of relative nowhere. Is Joey Wentz another Lodem lefty joining maybe Eric Lawlar at the high end and Trevor Rogers and Brandon Walter? Like there's a good group of surprises that have popped up this year. Wentz is a former prospect who's been in bullpens for a while just because of need, getting that chance again to start in Atlanta right now.
Well, Lawlar at least has 2 above average pitches by Stuff Plus and has a wide arsenal. What was your other?
Trevor Rogers. Lawlar, I think, is almost like too good to be Lodem, but almost only fits because of people just writing him off. Like people thought he was just thought he was done, But Wentz, I don't know. Like it's command over everything, I think, right now.
Yeah, there's a funny thing. I was talking about how I think that the Padres need a left-handed hitter more than a right-handed hitter. And I cited the fact that they are 24th, I believe, in hitting against left-handers. And somebody said, well, they've only faced 12 left-handers all year. And I looked, and they have the most plate appearances against left-handers all year. So I think just the lesson for me generally is that lefties are kind of scarce. And
does that make them more effective?
Yes.
At a certain point, if you just don't see him for a while, the shapes.
That was Austin Riley's point when I asked him. Yeah, he was like, I just don't see him that much.
It's weird. I wonder why lefties are more rare right now. If there's any actual reason for it, or it's just kind of like a random downturn in the big picture. Like, has this happened 25 years ago? Were we down to this low percentage of lefties?
I've looked at stuff like this before. There was some point where I was like, there's no top catchers, prospects. And then you're like, well, now there's like some really good ones. It's like, I think things just kind of come and go.
Just an ebb and flow. And Jacob Lopez being another lefty that kind of came out of relative nowhere this year.
But he's also returning to it. He's returning
there's been a correction.
I like Jacob Latz, but I think Jacob Latz is not Lodem. Like Latz actually pops in the model. So I would be very careful with Wentz just because not only is there not really there's no model that likes him. Sierra doesn't like him. K-BB doesn't like him. Stuff doesn't like him. There's no real model that likes him. And then on top of that, Atlanta's not the easiest place to pitch. So, you want to be careful with him at home. And then those kind of starters are really hard for me. I was looking today. My piece came out about a pickup I have a piece of a starting pitcher pickup for every league, right? Mm-hmm. And I was surprised to see that Jose Soriano is only owned in he's only rostered in like 40% of leagues or something. So I said, oh, he's a pickup. And then I was like, well, why have he had these blowups? And where has he had the blowups? Almost all at home. And his home park has a 113 park factor. So now if I tell you Jose Soriano is pretty good, but you don't really want to play him at home, that makes him like hard to roster, right? Because you're just like, okay, so I want to play him, but not at home and maybe not on the road in places that augment homers. So now he's like a guy I start 30 to 40% of the time. That's
in division, you don't like starting anyone in Sacramento now this time of year.
Right. Yeah.
So that's out. Houston, depending on who's healthy, can be tough. Maybe you can play them there. At Seattle's fine. Ballpark's good. Home, no good. And then you've got Texas is playing really pitcher friendly this year. So I guess there's like 2 in division, but it's a very odd use case, as we've found with a lot of guys that fall into the use on the road bucket.
I said that players like that are head-to-head pitchers, I think, because you can pitch them, and then if they hurt you, they don't hurt your season long. You can pivot.
You move on.
If he hurts you, then you say, okay, I'm going hard on Ks, and I'm not going to win ERA and WHIP this week. But there are a bunch of weeks where he's really good. So actually, volatile players I think can be more useful in head-to-head than in roto.
I just don't play enough head-to-head. I guess that's the problem. Something I have to fix going into next season. Let's get to our weekly Friday afternoon tradition. It is our senior hot dog correspondent. Niv Shah joins the show. He's also the founder of Ottoneu. Niv, what's going on? How you doing?
How's it going, guys? I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
Are you sure? Are you sure you're okay? You sound a little down.
Do you have gastrointestinal distress?
Once we talk about the hot dog, I think you guys will know where the energy is currently working.
Yeah, usually you come in with a pretty high level of energy. I feel like you came in a little low today.
Well, I didn't want to. I wanted Eno's point about head-to-head to stick for a second. I didn't want to come in a little too high.
Well, my head-to-head in Ottoneu, by the way, is head-to-head points where volatility hurts you. Like if Soriano gives you a big minus, then like that's minus
Right.
points. There's no, it's just
it's not categories. So you can definitely get yourself cooked by throwing guys out there like that.
Yeah.
But he can win you a start too. He can win you a whole game. So the whole matchup.
Mm. I did
well-
my thing in head-to-head points in Ottoneu is just an immense amount of starting pitchers. Like I have like, I don't know, like 15, 17 starting pitchers in that league.
Yeah, it's like
It's
15 is like the right number there, which is wild.
Just have a
because, like,
choice. So you just have a ton of choice every week where you're like, and you always make your minimums, and you always have like 2 or 3 guys that you didn't use their starts.
Right. You don't want to feel obligated to use your 9th worst or your worst overall start in Ottoneu. It can be really tricky to navigate. We try to do that, but it makes some of the new auctions, maybe if you want to talk about that first, Eric, I'm not sure, but it makes some of the guys that like get called up. That's why we see like, oh, this guy got called up. Here's 20 auctions for him right away. Here's why he's going for $3 to $4 right away. Because head to head, and generally in points leagues, like you want to jump on those guys and you want to have as many options as possible.
Yeah, starting pitchers for sure.
I think Eric Lawlar has been underrated by all of us across all platforms all season. And Eno was pointing out, he's got 2 above average pitches. We do have the track record in Milwaukee a couple of years ago, multiple years with like low to mid 3s ERAs, good whips, good strikeout numbers. It's not that far in the rearview mirror, so maybe we shouldn't be shocked by it. But seeing people get on board with Lawlar makes a lot of sense. I mean, the most heavily auctioned players right now are the guys that were just drafted that have signed, right? So you have Cade Anderson, should move very quickly in the Seattle system. Liam Doyle, who I think when we had Keith Law on after the draft, it was kind of like, oh, the Cardinals are drafting guys like Liam Doyle now. Look out, because those are more interesting pitchers. Liam Doyle's way more interesting than typical
you start
Cardinals
with something
pitcher.
better, and then you get the Cardinals system, and it's like scary.
Yeah, like I see the case for wanting those guys on my roster immediately, at least one of them, because they're going to move quickly through the minors.
You want them at $1.
Yeah.
Right? So you have to be the guy who puts. You have to be the guy that puts it out there. Who starts it? Yeah.
Well, I think there's like 2 ways on that, right? You want the option. Like a lot of guys talk about having the option for a player. If let's use Liam Doyle as an example, because there's like a pretty exciting upside there. If he moves through the system pretty quickly and has a slot in the rotation next year, he's not going to be $1, right? Like there's no league in which you will only get him for $1. There's no league in which you really get him for less than $5. So like $3 now becomes like, okay, that becomes like, if he's going to be in the Cardinals plans for next season, a pretty interesting thing. And like,
but you don't know all those things right now. You might get him for $1 now.
Yeah, but you have no chance of getting him for less than $5 if he's
tracking.
Right.
Yeah, if he's tracking toward a roster spot
breaks right. Like the reason you're able to spend $5 or $3 on a Liam Doyle now gives you that option to compete next year. You're probably not adding him if you are trying to compete this year. But then, if things get sidetracked or you get a little bit more information, okay, Liam Doyle is looking a little bit more like 2027, you can cut him in the offseason, right? Like you don't have an obligation to hold him. So I think if you're like in, DVR and I were talking last week, like if you're in the 9th place, like down here with us, Liam Doyle, guys like that, like these new sign guys, $3-4 is not the worst spend because you are baking in some of the potential upside. If you're competing, you cannot spend your resources doing that. Like that's too far down the line.
I guess I feel a little burned. I kept Bryce Eldridge at $5 going into the season, and now I just feel like he's a cut. I know there's still a lot of excitement, and I just saw somebody saying I think he could be a 40 homer guy, but he didn't move fast enough, and now I have to, if he gets time, I have to keep him at 7. And if he doesn't get time, $6 for a prospect is pretty aggressive for me.
But then, like, when will you? If he makes it to the majors, what number is he going to go for? And if he has that first like 3 games, like you see these guys go for $7, $8, $10 on the strength of pedigree, all the minor league scouting and the tool stuff, and then 3 good games. Like you see these guys go like pop,
Right.
you know. So it's just a question of like how much risk are you willing to take on? And you know, I understand like if you get burned by these guys a couple of times, you might sit this round out, and I totally get that. But I think if you want a chance to have a guy like Liam Doyle at less than $10, this is the opportunity to do that. There's a very good chance if he goes into a free agent auction, a start of year auction, or even midseason next year, you're not getting him for a price where the first full year of him is $10 or is less than $10. So like this is the opportunity to get really good value. It's also a good opportunity to waste $4.
Yeah,
So
right.
it's not like a guarantee. I'm not sitting here trying to tell you like this is the one neat trick to win Ottoneu leagues, but it is an opportunity to bake in value that may never be available again. Like Paul Skeens is the guy I always come back to because Skeens, you know, he signed. There were some guys that got him at like less than $3-5, and then now, like, can you imagine getting Skeens for anything less than $40? Like that seems impossible.
Right.
So,
yeah, I think the harder thing I can easily justify, especially as a rebuilder, saying, okay, I want Kate Anderson, or I want Liam Doyle, or Jamie Arnold, the first rounders that we think are going to move really fast, those early first round college pitchers, because their timetable of the big leagues is generally
We're starting.
short.
I mean, Chase Burns was quick. Like there's a lot.
Yeah,
of these guys.
So it's happening more and
quicker.
more. Like I think we're seeing that league wide to the point
because they're
where
also
you can start to
coming
trust
out of
that.
college programs that now have the tech and the you know they're going to drive line and tread, and so they're more fully formed creatures.
So what are you advising people to do when they see Ethan Holiday out there? Right, I mean, high school kid will probably move fast for a high school kid, but that's not the same as a college starter that could be up by this time next year if everything's going really well.
I think that's where the $1 rule becomes more important, because that $1 is going to be 3 or 4 before he's even close to
before he's even smelling it. Yeah.
So
that
guy, I've had zero hope for $1. Jose De Paula for $1. Like those guys, I think that's an asset because they're 18 or 19 or whatever. It's going to take a little time.
You know when you bid that $1, you know what you're getting into. You're like, this is a two-year project, maybe an asset to
or
trade.
A trade chip. Yeah.
but not, oh, this guy's going to be a $10 player on my team next year. You're like, that's not.
Right.
One data point on this, just to use your Ethan Holiday example, Eli Willits, who actually went 1 right overall, he has something like 75 fewer auctions than Ethan Holiday so far. Wow. So like Ethan Holiday obviously has name recognition. You know, there was an expectation of him before the draft. Got a lot of hype. Eli Willits, a little bit more like, I don't know, like not the same level, right? No one was saying, oh, this guy's going to go top 5. The Nationals obviously had a big front office change, so that's why some of that stuff happened. But I think that sort of tells you the way Ottoneu players think about it, right? Ethan Holiday is maybe a useful trade chip in the ways that just described. Eli Willits, you're going to have to see some stuff before he gets rostered in a lot of places and starts going places. Like the fact that he's in like 1/3 of the leagues that Ethan Holiday's in. Holiday has 87 auctions completed.
That's pretty interesting.
87 auctions completed and 30 auctions going right now. Eli Willits also has 30 auctions going right now, but he only has 7 completed. Like it's and they both were added around the same time. They both signed around the same time. I added them within a couple days of each other. So it's not like there's a massive discrepancy in how long either of them have been in the player universe. And again, both these numbers are well under. They're still only 1/3 of leagues. Like that's not. There's a lot of leagues that don't have Ethan Holiday auctions going right now. So, I think that's very telling, right? Like when you have a guy like Kate Anderson or Liam Doyle, those guys are rostered almost everywhere. And then the high school guys are getting rostered at like 30%. And then Eli Willits is getting rostered at like 10%. So that's like, those are pretty big. Yeah, pretty big tiers.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about the comparison of guys that are already playing an A-ball versus the top-end prospects that were just drafted. So I picked up Luis Pena in the Brewers organization like a week ago for $1. And last year it was Jesus Mane, like trying to be ahead, trying to get the guys that are shooting up those lists who might be unattainable, because they do have the multi-path value where you can trade them if you start contending. And if you're
they're also a year closer.
They're a year closer.
Right.
Yeah, they're already playing. So like, and especially this time of year, right around the minor league all-star breaks, sometimes you get that second half promotion. So you go from low A to high A, the different things like that can also like really make you feel a lot better about a player in the final couple of months of the season. But I think sometimes like the guys that are already there doing it get a little bit overlooked and underrated relative to the guys that get taken early in the draft. That's at least how I felt about Pena compared to someone like Eli Willits.
I tend to fade the draft. We're in a league, Devil's Rejects, 20. It's open universe, 20 teams, and like I don't like. I have James Anderson as my co-owner, so like he can do that if he wants to.
Yeah, he can deal with all that.
Yeah, but like people in our league are adding people in high school ahead of the draft, and are doing that like really religiously, and I'm like, yo, wake me up in a year or two. Dude.
Yeah, I mean, look, no one's immune to hype, right? And at the end of the day, like. These guys that went top 5, they had 2 weeks of coverage on ESPN and MLB.com, MLB Network, everywhere, just being like, who's going to go 1? Who's going to go 2? Where are these college pitchers going to go?
And that was Ethan Holiday over and over again.
Right. And so you hear all these names. All these names are like familiar. And then, College World Series was not so long ago. You see some of these players playing. Like, there's sort of a continuous hype stream that MLB is copying from the NFL to like really get these names in front of you. But
then there's this huge gulf afterwards. It's just really, there's like this huge hype stream comes to a moment, and then you don't, like we may not hear about Eli Willits
1 to 3 years. Yeah, it could be a little while.
Eli Willits, he's putting it together.
And when you talk about these guys in high A or low A or whatever, like there is never like a sustained 2-week effort to remind you that there is a 50 future value or a 60 future value tool guy just crushing the Brewers right now. Like that hype doesn't exist. So you have to do a little bit of homework there. But when you get this auction email for Kate Anderson, like you're like, oh, I know that name. I just heard that name. Why'd I hear that name? Let me go take a peek. And that's going to drive the price up, right? And so I think there is validity in finding those guys at good value. There used to be, like when I first started adding these college players right as they were getting drafted and signing, these guys used to go for like 10, 11, 12 bucks.
Wow.
And I think the overall Ottoneu market has adjusted to that. Like these are more like $4 or $5 guys at the high end, $1 to $2 guys if you want. And then the focus is definitely on guys that'll move quicker, like you guys were saying, like college guys that, to Eno's point, a little bit more professionally developed than they have been in the past. And Major League Baseball has given teams incentives to bring those guys up quickly.
That's right, yeah.
So we got a hot dog to review, and I think this is why Niv was a little sad.
A little lethargic this week, and I don't know.
Still bogged down. I think you ate this dog on Monday or Tuesday, and it's Friday.
Thing, dude.
Yeah, so I usually recommend the YouTube channel, and I think we're coming up on a subscriber milestone on the channel. So if you don't subscribe, you should subscribe. I'm not going to tell you to subscribe and scroll to this part of the video because honestly, the taste of the majors has been very good to Niv and very good to this show throughout the year. I do not want to besmirch the work they're doing there overall. I think they've done a great job this season. It was the Cincinnati Dog featuring, in their words, Cincinnati's uniquely seasoned chili over a quarter-pound beef frank topped with cheese sauce and jalapenos. I don't understand why we had to go to the topped with cheese sauce and jalapenos part. I don't know what about that makes it a Cincinnati Dog specifically. Niv, I'm looking at this and I'm just thinking, you ordered it and probably felt sad immediately because the picture makes me sad. It makes me not want to eat it.
I don't want to.
It makes me feel. I would feel obligation.
10 minutes ago. I'm just sad. This is so sad.
I have to eat this. It's part of my job. I don't want to waste food. I spent what does this thing cost? $10?
Yeah, these things cost like $11 at the stand.
Oh,
and
so especially after $11, you're like, all right, I gotta eat this.
Like a regular hot dog is $8. So look, I don't want to cry foul on the price or anything like that. Nacho cheese sauce is just not something we need to put on hot dogs, guys. Like, it's just not. And like, when I jumped on the pod today, I'm like, well, okay, I'm going to get hyped up. We're going to talk about these players a little bit. And then I thought about this hot dog, and it's hard to bring energy when you think about how nacho cheese sauce and a hot dog feel together in your mouth. Like, it's just not good. All the energy is negative. The nacho cheese sauce is a mistake. And, like the Ottoneu dog, which a lot of these dogs are kind of, it's chopped onions and like shredded cheese, right? And so I feel like
if that had shredded cheese on there, that'd be so much
right
better.
There.
It'd be so much better. Because Cincinnati chili is good. I like Cincinnati chili where it's got
do they put nacho
cinnamon
cheese sauce on Cincinnati chili, or do they put shredded cheese on it?
It's shredded. It's shredded cheese and diced onions, and I think beans is one of the things they'll put on there sometimes, but it's never nacho cheese.
It's really hard to get away. So, because the picture said, like the description says uniquely seasoned chili, right? And there's no way of tasting that underneath nacho cheese sauce. There's just no way of There's just no way of taste. So like it's hard to get away from feeling like I got really cheap ballpark nachos dumped on top of this hot dog. There's like a little texture of that like rubbery ground beef, and I'm fine. And then nacho cheese, and then these jalapenos. And the jalapenos are a staple, right? We've seen the jalapenos on the Chicago dog, on the Texas dog, on a few dogs. Fine. If you are like, and man, and this is going to actually bring up a second beef I have with Nats Park. They don't dice the onions anymore. And when I used to go to ball games before the pandemic, every single condiment stand had a little roll it, get the onions out. And they got rid of it during the pandemic because they decided that onions
unsanitary somehow.
I guess.
Yeah, the hand crank. Everyone's using the same kitchen tool, I guess.
I don't know. But they haven't come back, and I imagine there's some cost and some labor involved there that they just didn't want to deal with. Maybe just buying diced onions became something that was not available to them. But it's telling to me that here's a very clear opportunity to put shredded cheese and diced onions on a thing, and they've combined those ideas in their head into nacho cheese sauce. And that's all I can come up with, and it's like
the only thing I can come up with is they have like a vat of nacho cheese sauce that they're trying to get rid of.
And there's just like nothing else. There's nothing else in the ballpark that has shredded cheese on top.
Where you see the food court, but all the food's coming from the same thing. It's just nacho cheese sauce. Has to go to every single stand in Nats Park. And where is the shredded cheese, man? I don't know. That again could be a thing.
Shredded cheese sounds like it has more labor in it.
A little bit of a bag that way, though.
Yeah, they come in a bag that way. That's right.
Maybe there's a sanitary thing there, man. The nacho cheese, you can get it hot, and so it can cook off anything. And, but so I told Derek, when we were in the lead up to this, and we can end this terrible conversation about this terrible hot dog there. But I told him I went to the game on Monday night. And then I went again on Wednesday. Wednesday was a noon game, and I was like, "Look, guys, I'm gonna go back to the well and see if maybe it was a one-off. Maybe this is more nacho cheese than they expected. Maybe it's supposed to be just a little drizzle of nacho cheese on it. Maybe there's something where I can actually taste the." And I looked.
You bought this twice?
No, I didn't, man, because I looked at it a second time. I just looked the listing up.
Come
I looked
on,
at the
Niv's
words,
reasonable.
And I was like, guys,
I don't want to eat this again.
Demote me from VP of Hot Dog Affairs back to Senior Hot Dog Correspondent or whatever. But like, I am not doing it 2 times. Can't go back to this well. And you can imagine what it's like to eat this thing. It's messy. It's just not. It's not sanitary. It doesn't feel like.
Oh my God,
eating it,
you can need a shower.
A hot dog with you can eat a hot dog with a good set of toppings on it in like 3-4 bites and be like, cool, done. I don't feel like I need to go to the bathroom after that. Like I don't have to wash my hands or like wash my face. You first bite of nacho cheese, you're like, it's like there's nacho cheese everywhere, man. I don't know why.
You're like, just don't get on my shirt and pants, please.
Everything smells like nacho cheese. Like, did I get it on my shirt? Like, just don't. So yeah, it was a little bit of a bummer this week, and I'm bummed by that because I think like the last few hot dogs have actually been pretty good. And this one was both trying, like it wasn't creative in like the kind of like we're going to totally like just make up what we think the city is up to. And it wasn't, but it wasn't
true to what the city was up to. Yeah.
No, it failed on both fronts, which is rare. Again, we're not going to hold that against them, but
yeah, the record so far I think is a pretty positive one. And
yeah,
I think, you know,
they're above 500.
Yeah, above 500.
Better than the club on the field. Yeah.
Next week, I don't think I'll be able to be on, but in a couple weeks, the A's are coming to town. I'm very interested in seeing what they do for that.
Yeah.
Those West Coast dogs, they tend to put the bacon on it. You know, I think you called that out really early in the season about the bacon wrapped hot dog.
Oh, yeah.
After this thing, man, just bring me a bacon wrapped hot dog with some peppers and onions, and we can just be very happy about what's going on.
Yeah,
don't get funky with this one.
Two series in a row. You get the Brewers right after the trade deadline, so we'll see what we're going to bring. Cheese curds? Get some cheese curds on a hot dog?
We could see.
They don't have those in the ballpark.
I unfortunately will not be at that series next weekend because I am going to be in New York, and we're going to do a little Ottoneu meetup in New York. At the other half in Carroll Gardens. I shared information about it in our both in the listener league channel in Discord and also the Ottoneu channel in Discord. And maybe I'll drop it in the meetups channel as well. But I just want to give you guys a heads up.
What date is
next
that again?
Saturday? It'll be Saturday, August 2nd.
Oh,
and
missing bobblehead. You're missing Jacob Young bobblehead.
Yeah, that one's a bummer too. Jacob Young bobble. It's a horizontal Jacob Young, and the whole Jacob Young bobbles. It shows him making a diving catch. So
he made that.
I might have
catch,
to go back.
Was it yesterday where he climbed?
Yeah, on Wednesday he went over the wall. There's another Jacob Young bobblehead day, so I'm going to try to get that on the second go. And
don't miss him. He might not be on the team next year too.
Yeah, no, man, not from what I've heard,
amazing.
His bat is not a very popular asset
No,
on
it's
that
not
team.
good.
But yeah, so anyway, August 2nd, which I think is August 2nd or August 3rd? August 2nd, the Saturday.
Yep,
next Saturday, a week from tomorrow. Thanks. It'll be over at the Carroll Gardens other half, and a good number of Fangraphs guys will be there, and Nick Pollock from Pitcher List will be there. So I shared the information in the Discord, and I'll make sure everyone is aware of it, but we're sorry to miss you guys. I think the last time I was at an other half. I think the last time I was at an other half in New York, it was with you, so.
That's right.
With both you
Good
guys,
times.
right? Yeah, we had a live show there a couple years ago. So I'm looking forward to it, and hopefully, if you're playing 6 picks or you're interested in Ottoneu in any way, just come by and say hey.
Yeah, I think last time we got together at Other Half, you and I were talking about buying a soccer team or trying to find people that have money to buy a soccer team that we could be a part of the ownership group.
We were trying to get ahead of some stuff. I think we were actually talking about a women's soccer team. We were really forward thinking there. We missed the boat on that, man. That money is being made right now.
Long gone. That window has closed on us. It was a good idea. All good ideas come from drinking beers and hot toddies.
That was a good time, man. Yeah. I wonder what kind of sports team I'm going to try to buy with Davey Andrews this weekend. We'll find out.
Looking forward to hearing that story. But Niv, we appreciate your time and your insight, and we appreciate you taking one for the team by actually eating that Cincy dog, because I might have bailed if I saw the person in front of me walk away with one of those. Just like,
thanks,
I'm
guys.
out.
It was super fun. And I will be in touch very soon with some more dogs.
All right. Be sure to get to that meetup if you can in Brooklyn on August 2nd. Catch you later, Niv.
Bye, guys.
We are going to go on our way out the door. A reminder, you can join the Discord with the link in the show description. Find us on Blue Sky, Eno's, enosaris.bscout@social. I am dvr.bscout@social. Thanks to our producer, Brian Smith, for putting this episode together. That's going to do it for this episode of Rates and Barrels. We're back with you on Monday.
Thanks for listening.